Good day, everyone. Welcome to the fifth lecture series for the subject correctional administration. And on this lecture series, we'll be discussing on the procedures undertaken at the Bureau of Corrections facilities, such as, for example, the Bilibid prison and the different penal farms. Okay, so definitely, in order for a person to be committed in the national penitentiary, it is but important that we have to understand the different mechanisms or different requirements before a person could qualify for confinement in the national penitentiary. So first is that first thing that we need to consider is that the person must have been sentenced with finality, and that the sentence imposed by the court is higher than 3 years, meaning okay, when the penalty is 3 years, 1 day and above, then definitely they have to be committed in the national penitentiary. However, when their sentence is lower than 3 years, then definitely they have to be confined in the local jails, such as, for example, the city jail, the district jail, the municipal jails, as well as that of the provincial jails. Okay, so that if we are going to consider, okay, looking at the uh, these so-called requirements, okay, before any person could be admitted in the national penitentiary, there are 4 documents, okay, that are needed. First, we have there the mitimus, okay? So the mitimus or the sentence mitimus for that matter, that stipulates among others, or that orders rather, the personnel of the Bureau of Correction to admit okay, this particular person for confinement in the national penitentiary. Okay. Another is that we also need to have a legal basis for the mitimus, and that is the decision of the court. Now, in order for the decision of the court to be valid, there are 3 elements that must be present. First, it must be signed by that of the judge. It must be signed by that of the clerk of court. Okay, and at the same time, it must contain the seal of the court. Okay, so these 3 elements must be present in order that okay, we could consider the mitimus to be valid. In the absence of any of this one, then definitely okay, it will make the mitimus okay, null and void. And if you are the prison guard, okay, accepting the offender, then you can always refuse, and you can always ask the members of the local jail personnel causing the transfer of these inmates, okay, to secure and at the same time to present the said document. Another is that you have to understand that when the case is on appeal, then definitely the person cannot be referred to the national penitentiary. So that, okay, one of the document that you should be looking for is the certificate of no appeal. Okay, so the certificate of no appeal will of course be issued by that of the court, okay, to attest that the case of the person being referred to in the facilities of the Bureau of Correction, okay, is not okay, pending for appeal. And the fourth document that the personnel of the Bureau of Correction will be looking for is the certificate of detention that is issued by the jail warden, okay, that from which the offender came from. Okay, so the certificate of detention, the importance of which is that you have to remember that under Republic Act 10592, okay, the period of preventive imprisonment, okay, shall be deducted from the sentence imposed by the court. Okay, so if that is the case, okay, so if you have been detained for 5 years, and then eventually you will be convicted by the court, and then the court would impose to you the penalty of 5 years for, or 6 years for that matter, then definitely that 5 years of detention will be deducted from the sentence imposed by the court. Okay, therefore you only have a remaining 1 year of okay imprisonment. Okay, so that uh, in as far as these so-called procedures are concerned, okay, we need to of course understand also okay that it is the Directorate for Reception and Diagnostic that will implement these so-called procedures. So that when, as I have made mention, when these four documents, that's the mitimus, the decision of the court, the certificate of no appeal, and the certificate of detention, okay, has all been complied with, okay, by that of the local jail personnel, causing the transfer, okay, of the so-called inmate to the national penitentiary, okay, then definitely, okay, the Bureau of Corrections through the Directorate for Reception and Diagnostics will now process, okay, the admission of the inmate. Okay, so for the Directorate for Reception and Diagnostic, it is their function to receive, study, and classify inmates, okay, or detainees that are committed to the Bureau. Okay, now if you can notice, okay, from this function that is presented in our slide, okay, they are responsible in, okay, classifying inmates and detainees. Okay, so there is still the word detainee, and we have a common understanding of what a detainee is. A detainee is a person who is either undergoing trial, investigation, or awaiting final judgment of the court. So definitely, okay, there are still group of offenders, okay, that we can classify as detainees whose sentence are not yet final, but they are, okay, required or mandated to be transferred to the national penitentiary. And this happens in the case of those offenders who are convicted with reclusion perpetua or life imprisonment. Take note that these people will not be filing for their appeal. Therefore, the certificate of no appeal could be issued. Okay. However, okay, the Supreme Court will conduct an automatic review of their cases. Okay. Now, since the automatic review will be conducted by that of the Supreme Court, so they will be transferred to the National Penitentiary, and it is there where they will wait, okay, for the final decision of the court. Okay. So immediately upon the admission procedure, okay, has been undertaken, okay, these so-called offenders will have to be immediately placed, okay, in the quarantine cell or in the quarantine facility of the Bureau of Correction, okay, for a period of 5 days. So what will happen, okay, in this so-called period of 5 days? So in this period of 5 days, the inmates will be given physical examination, okay, to determine any physical illness, okay, or handicap C, okay, or mental ailment, and at the same time to segregate those people suspected to be suffering from any infectious or contagious disease. Okay, so if the inmate is found sick, then the inmate shall be immediately confined in the prison hospital, okay, for purposes of treatment, gentlemen and ladies. Okay, so what are the tests that will be conducted? Of course, okay, when the person in the admission section, okay, of course, kakap-kapan pa yan, okay, he will be subjected to searching. So the searching procedure is also gradual. So the first type of search that will be conducted to a newly committed inmate is, of course, una, frisking muna. Okay? So frisking by means of simply tapping, okay, the parts of the body, including that of the packets, okay, to determine, of course, the purpose of searching is to determine whether or not the person is in possession of anything that is considered as a contraband. Okay? And if contraband is found in possession of the inmate, then it will have to be confiscated. So frisking muna. Okay? So after the conduct of frisking, the next is, of course, okay, to since dadalhin na siya sa quarantine cell or unit, then definitely, okay, they will be subjected to strip searching. So strip searching in the sense that all of their clothes will be removed. They will be asked to remove their clothes. Okay. Of course, one of the objective there, aside from knowing whether they are in possession of the contraband, is of course to determine whether or not they are suffering from any physical injuries for that matter. Okay, because it might be that they were subjected to extreme physical beatings, before they were committed to the national penitentiary. So of course, to remove the doubt, okay, that they could be subject to abuses when they are in the national penitentiary, then of course this okay, cursory examination of the external body of the subject will be undertaken. Okay, and then when there is a suspicion that still the person is suffering from if the person is suspected to be in possession of anything categorized as contraband, okay, and it is believed that it is within the body of the person, then a cavity search is to be conducted. So when we speak of the so-called cavity search, so you will have to physically examine all the possible openings of the body, the mouth, the anus, in case of women, okay, including that of their genitals, will be subjected to cavity searching. Because of course, there is a possibility that you could insert, okay, certain objects into the anus or into the genitals, okay, just for the purpose of you know, okay, para makapasok sa loob ng kulungan, something like that. Okay? Now, in as far as after the search is conducted, then again, as we have made mention, okay, they will have to remain further in the quarantine cell or unit, okay, to ensure that they are free from any form of contagious disease. Okay, X-ray will be administered, okay, and other forms of physical examination, again, to be sure that they are not suffering from any contagious disease. Okay. Now, during which also they will be oriented with the prison rules and regulations, so that they would know, okay, what are the okay, procedures that they need to follow inside the prison facility. And for purposes of casework, they will also be interviewed by a counselor, a social worker, or other program staff officers. Okay, and this will form part, okay, the record of the offender, because the result of the interviews later, based on the observation of the counselor, okay, the social worker, or even the psychiatrist and psychologist for that matter, okay, will form part the basis in the formulation of their, okay, treatment and rehabilitation program. Okay, so once they are admitted, of course, then definitely the prison will have to prepare their inmate record. Take note that the so-called inmate record, okay, is the same with what we call as the prison record. And the inmate record forms part or also contains, among others, okay, the personal circumstances of the inmate, okay, brief personal, social, and occupational history, the result of the intake interview that was conducted by the social worker and the other program staff of the prison, and of course the initial security classification that will be assigned to him by that of the reception and diagnostic center, based, okay, on the tawag natin dito, based on the sentence that was imposed by that of the court. Okay? So, we also have yung tinatawag natin na karpeta. So, what is a karpeta? Okay? So, the karpeta pertains to those records of an inmate prior to his commitment into the National Penitentiary. So the four documents that we have made mention earlier as a prerequisite for his admission will form part the carpeta. And together with the carpeta and other collateral information that will be gathered during the intake interview, all of them will now form part yung tinatawag natin ngayon na inmate record. Okay? And the moment that, of course, all of the procedures has been followed, then definitely, okay, they will be issued okay, a set of uniform. Okay, so this set of uniform would, of course, be given, and when practicable, okay, newly admitted inmate shall also be issued a blanket, a mat, a pillow with pillowcases, mosquito net, mess kit, okay, one pair of slippers. And take note of this: the inmate is held responsible and accountable for all the items that are issued to him. okay, considering the fact that upon the release from confinement, if these are still in good condition, they will have to return it to the prison, okay, for possible issuance to new inmates or new prisoners that will be admitted. Okay? Now, to answer the question, is the inmate allowed to bring in extra clothing? Okay? So, pwede bang magpasok sa loob ng kulungan yung isang inmate ng extra clothing, something like that? Okay? So, to answer that question, okay, of course, they are still allowed. However, okay, they have to be careful with the volume, okay, of the so-called clothing that they will be bringing in. Okay, hindi naman po pwedeng magpasok sila doon na as in magbebenta na para silang magbebenta ng wagwag sa loob ng kulungan. So it's just a matter, let's say for example, good for 7 days, clothing good for 7 days, something like that. Anyway, the prison will be providing him with a set of uniform for that matter. Okay, and then of course, to answer the question, is the inmate allowed to wear jewelries inside the compound of the prison? Yan. That is a very big question. Will he be allowed to be wearing necklace? Will he be allowed to be wearing watches? Will he be allowed to be wearing earrings for that matter in cases of female inmates? Well, to answer that question, the answer is no. Okay? The only exemption to that is, of course, the inmate may be allowed to wear, okay, an inexpensive watch. Okay, yun lang. They are allowed to wear inexpensive watch. Okay, so you are wearing a watch, but your watch is Rolex, okay, or okay, a gold-plated watch, then definitely this cannot be allowed, considering the fact that it could be a source, okay, of you know, you can trade that inside the prison for any services that you could think of, and that is strictly prohibited, okay, as far as the prison rules and regulation are concerned. Okay, and then, okay, of course, with the issuance of the uniforms, okay, so color coded, okay, yung mga uniform sa loob ng kulungan. Okay, so what are the respective color of uniforms as to the security classification of inmates? Other than that, the classification, okay, as to the wearing of uniform is limited to the degree of security. Okay, so of course we have there the maximum security. They will be given, okay, a uniform, okay, anong kulay? And that is of course tangerine. Okay, I know for the fact that some of you have read orange, but of course orange was way back in 1987. As early as 1987, it was already changed to tangerine. However, you have to remember this, gentlemen and ladies, tangerine is very closely similar to orange, because when tangerine fades, it becomes an orange. Okay, something like that. Okay, and then of course for medium security, they will be issued color blue, minimum security brown, and of course detainees gray. Again, I would like to reiterate that while it is true that we have made mention a while back that only those convicted with finality are allowed, however, okay, detainees are still available inside the Bureau of Corrections facilities, but these are limited to those people who are awaiting the decision of the court, okay, after they have been convicted, okay, and penalized with the penalty of reclusion perpetua or life imprisonment. Okay, then aside from classifying inmates according to their security, inmates could also be classified according to their entitlement to privileges. Okay, so there are 5 groups of inmates, okay, according to the privileges that are accorded to them. Okay, so the lowest form of inmates based on the privileges, okay, are the detainees. Okay, so the so-called detainees, gentlemen and ladies, or the detainees, okay, as we have made mention, receives the lowest form of privileges. They receive the lowest number of privileges, limited, of course, to visitation privileges, okay, and the like. Okay. Other than that, they cannot enjoy the same privilege as that of the sentenced prisoners, such as, for example, work programs, okay, and the like. Okay, they are not entitled to it. Okay. And then, of course, we also have there the third class inmate. Okay. Now, the third class inmate, okay, is, of course, belonging to the category of offenders who have been committed to the prison or to the jail or prison as a sentenced prisoner, okay, for 3 years or more. Okay. Uh, so again, okay, 3 years or more. Okay, they have been committed to prison for 3 years, for 3 times or more, then they will be automatically classified as third class. And they will have to wait for a certain period of time until such time that they could be classified as a second class. And then, of course, we also have their second class inmates. So a second class inmate is a category given to newly arrived inmates, okay, that are committed for the first time. Also, those who are promoted from third class will be promoted to second class or to the first class inmates who have been demoted, okay, to second class. And then we also have there the first class inmates. So the first class inmate is one who is known, or one who is whose known character, okay, has earned him the credit of being classified as a first class inmate. If you are a first class inmate, then you will be enjoying more privileges as compared to the others. Okay, such as, for example, you can now be classified as an inmate trustee, from which you will be given a considerable degree of freedom. Okay, but of course, that freedom is limited within the of a compound of the Bureau of Corrections facilities. Okay, so to speak. Okay, and then of course, the group of offenders that receives the highest number of privileges are basically that of the colonist. So the colonist, for that matter, gentlemen and ladies, okay, receives the highest, okay, number of privileges. Okay, one of the privileges is that they are allowed to bring with them their family, okay, to bring with them the wife, including the children, to stay with them in the, okay, penal colony of destination. Okay, so the idea there is that it's just like a fairy tale, so that they may live, okay, happily ever after, something like that. Okay, but of course, it is not advised that you bring with them the children, because of course the children will be traumatized. Okay, of course, okay, who is in the proper state of mind to be living inside the prison? Okay, to be living inside the prison facility, something like that. Okay, so that is for the colonists. Okay, another privileges entitled to a colonist that is not given to everyone, okay, is that they are also entitled, okay, to an additional 5 days of good conduct time allowance, aside from the regular good conduct time allowance that are given to them. So, of course, under Republic Act 10592, as far as the good conduct time allowance, if the person, okay, has already been in prison, okay, for a period of 1 to 2 years, then they are entitled to 20 days, a maximum, take note, maximum of 20 days for each month of good behavior during their confinement. Okay, for 3 to 5 years, they will be entitled to a maximum of 23 days. 6 to 10, okay, of course, 25 days, okay, and 11th year and above, okay, 30 days. So that those are the regular. Those are the regular good conduct time allowance. And in addition to that, if you are a colonist, for that matter, then you are entitled to an additional 5 days, okay, of good conduct time allowance, aside from the regular good conduct time allowance that is granted to you by the court. Okay, and then of course, okay, being a colonist, okay, you are entitled to wear, okay, civilian clothing, okay, on a special occasion, without requiring you to wear your uniform, something like that. Okay, so those are just some of the privileges. Okay, they are even entitled to free supply from the government commissary, okay, if budget is available. Okay, such as, for example, free supply of soap, free supply of toothpaste, okay, something like that. Okay, pwedeng ibigay yan sa isang colonist provided may budget yung ating pambansang kulungan. Okay? Now, so those are the privileges, okay, of our colonists, okay, and of course, I hope that nobody among you here, okay, nobody, okay, among you who are watching this video would want to become a colonist. Okay, so that ends our fifth lecture series for the subject corrections. Okay, for our sixth series or sixth part of our discussion, will be focusing on jail operations. Okay, so thank you very much.